Good afternoon and welcome to this council meeting for the municipality of Dutton Dunwich. It is November 13th, 2024. It is 5 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Clerk Tara, if you would get us started, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5 p.m. All in favor? That's carried.
Thank you. And Councillor Dreifeld, you will give us the land acknowledgement.
We will begin by acknowledging that the land in which we gather is the traditional territory of the First Nations people whom have longstanding relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. We also acknowledge the local Lower Thames River watershed communities, which include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation of Moravian Town. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island, North America. We are thankful for the opportunity to live, learn, and share with mutual respect and appreciation.
Thank you. I would remind council of any declaration of pecuniary interest.
I have one, item 10E, correspondence request for support for the 2024 Santa Parade by the Wallacestown Optimists. I'm a member of that club.
Okay.
You're welcome.
The draft minutes were included in the agenda package. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, they will be adopted as presented to council. Clerk Tara, are there any items not listed on the agenda?
Yes, so we have under correspondence item 10E from the Wallacestown Optimist Club, the request for support for the 2024 Santa Claus Parade road closure.
Okay, thank you. We have two delegations this evening, and the first one is the Long Point Biosphere Region. And our good neighbor to the east, Sarah Emmons, is going to present. Yep. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Dutton Dunwich. It's lovely to be here and see your chambers and, get to see your meeting. It's very fun. So I've come here today to talk about this North Shore Resilience Project. And if we can have the first slide, please. Second slide. I'll just start talking. So, that's okay. So the study region starts in Port Glasgow in West Elgin and goes all the way to Long Point. And that's kind of a functional unit of sediment transport called a littoral cell. So interestingly, any of the other kind of sediment that erodes from the bluffs on the other side of Port Glasgow heads down to Rondo. And so that's kind of a split point there. And a littoral cell is just this unit of transport where, you go from a zone of erosion all along our eroding bluffs that we have in Elgin, and it gets transported in the near shore down the coast and is deposited in a sand spit, whether that be Long Point, Rondo, Point Pelee. All of these are these littoral cells, and that's kind of the end of this sediment transport. So we started building this project proposal for Environment and Climate Change Canada, some funding that was available. We started building this last January. And we did have some pretty good municipal participation and conservation authorities. And this is because, the problems that are happening within this littoral cell are common to all of us. Resilience to natural hazards like storms is very low throughout this littoral cell. And our ecosystems and our built assets, like our municipal roads, are vulnerable to flooding and erosion. Climate change is making these hazards more extreme and more frequent, and that is leading to greater economic damage, as well as habitat loss in the future. So we submitted this funding proposal And we were funded for 2 years with an amendment potentially in year 2. So we kind of go back and say, all right, we're going to ask for some more to continue this work. So I'm going to talk today about the first 2 years of the study, but feel free to ask me about any of the other stuff that might be happening in the future. So the first objective is this technical and scientific piece. And that is going out and collecting physical data, bathymetry data, and sediment samples to develop a sediment budget and transport model for this littoral cell. And so the sediment budget gives you an actual quantification of the amounts of material that are eroding off, and then where are the sinks, where are they being deposited, right? So we can imagine that the beaches, all of the beaches are areas of deposition, and how much is being deposited in each place. And then the transport model, is similar without the quantification, just transportation down the coast. How is it being transported? Where is it stopping? And how is it moving down the coast? And that's really key to us understanding future erosion rates. Once we have this model built, we can actually take it under different climate scenarios in the future and kind of model things under different scenarios. That gives us a little more certainty or some guesses as to the kind of lifetime of our municipal assets, people's homes, all of those things that we value along the coast. Then we have our kind of stewardship action activity, and that's building shoreline resilience on beaches through fore-dune restoration using native plants such as beach grass. So any beaches that are eroding, or if we're just worried about high water levels in the future, which we have all experienced the high water level issues, eroding, any beaches, but certainly the bluffs as well. Building up those fore-dunes gives a protective buffer to the rest of the beach. And really now is the time of low water. We want to grab onto the sand that we have, hold it with these plants in place to kind of build up our stores of sand on our beaches now in the face of, future storm surges and then again, these high water levels. And certainly in places where there are homes on the beach, you get down into Long Point, right? And cottages and things. This can be important to also help the landowners to prevent sand from blowing into their properties and also to protect them from storm surges. Then we have this Coastal Resilience Action Plan. And so, this is not just an environmental or a physical project. We certainly recognize that there are a lot of people living, doing business, and doing all kinds of activities along the coast. So it's important that we develop a plan based on social, economic, environmental, and physical baselines for the coastal area. And this is where we're doing a lot of public engagement and participation. Next slide, please. So I can get a little bit more into the deliverables, but I want to talk about the governance structure first. And so we have a working group that is made up of municipal partners, conservation authorities, some NGOs, different levels of government. The province is kind of sitting on some meetings. They just don't have time to be there for all, and First Nations participation. And we would very much like it if Dutton Dunwich participated in our working group. Then there's the Public Advisory Committee. So we want qualified members of the public who represent the diverse geographies. We definitely want representation from this area and different user groups and stakeholders, right? There's landowners, there's farmers, there's people who fish, there's all hunting and fishing, commercial fishing, business owners. There's all kinds of ways that people interact with the coast and why it's important to them. So we want to make sure those people are represented and that their perspectives are heard. Then we have the Technical Advisory Committee, and that is so that we ensure a technical review of all of this research material and the scientific material that is being developed. And so then that's when we get to this Coastal Action Plan. We want to co-develop that with these 3 pieces of governance to ensure that we have diverse perspectives and that there's that inclusion of the social, economic, environment, and physical into this plan. Next slide. So the Public Advisory Committee would have at least 8 members, 8 to 10. We're going to talk about that at the first working group meeting which we hope that Dutton can participate in. And again, we want to have a diversity in geography and stakeholder groups. And also we have acquired a professional facilitator to lead that group to ensure that there's transparency and neutrality with the Public Advisory Committee. And then one member of that Public Advisory Committee is also going to sit on the Technical Advisory Committee. Again, transparency and communication between those two groups. Next slide. So we were funded for $900,000 for 2 years, again, with that option for an amendment on year 2 to continue the work. A lot of the work that's in the beginning of these 2 years is a focus on the technical activities and building this plan. Then we can move forward with some of the recommendations that are developed in this plan. So I've kind of talked about most of that already. We can go to the next slide. Right, so this is some dune restoration that's been done in Wasaga Beach. And this is the sort of thing that we've been just starting to do on Beach and Woodstock Ave in Long Point. So you can see that there's, the high water levels have eroded the beach. You've got that kind of cliff there. And all they've done is they've planted grasses in that top section. And within 2 years, you can see how much sand has accumulated there. And again, that's where they want to keep the sand. And all of that erosion has been, filled right back in with sand that's supposed to be there. Next slide. It's taking a minute. Sorry, I have a different presentation for Norfolk, and that's the slides I have with me. So, yeah, and that's on the screen back there. Oh, right. So then we're already at the ask. So yeah, we would love very much for Dutton Dunwich to participate in the working group. We'd certainly like your perspectives on building the pack and, to have representation on the pack from this area. There it is. And right, we want to have, there's potential future partnerships. We're actually always looking for more money. We always want to look for more funding potential, and we actually did get some for more beach grass nurseries. So, there's the potential to even get a Western Elgin County beach grass nursery started so that then those plants are available to plant around here. And again, I think that there's some usefulness for all municipalities to have a vulnerability assessment for their roads and infrastructure. Yeah. So I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you for that presentation.
Thanks.
Looking forward to council. Any questions?
Lee,
Quick one.
I hope so.
Just curious, Rondo Park, you mentioned Rondo Park. I noticed on their shoreline, on their beaches, is all beach grass. Was that planted?
So there is native beach grass species. So I'm not 100% sure if it was planted. It was probably there to begin with. I would have to see the grass. There's an Atlantic variety and then a more regionally native variety. So it was either there or it was planted, but both varieties do build dunes well. The regional variety is a little better than the Atlantic variety, we think.
The only reason why I mentioned it is because there's hardly any beach left, so they must want it to continue to grow for the protection of the shoreline, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And they do have problems with high water there. And actually there is a Rondo application from this same funding pot that is helping out Rondo as well.
Okay, I'll just mention you did have a tour. If you could just speak to that briefly.
Yeah, so we were able to invite the working group members, and we were very grateful that Dutton Dunwich participated in that, and West Elgin did too, even though I haven't been to talk to their council yet. And we took people on a tour all the way from Port Glasgow to Long Point so that everyone had a chance to see the different issues that everyone faced and to see the commonalities and also the differences. And it was really interesting to see the way that people are impacted by the same things, but then how it gets more extreme the further you go. By the time you get east of Burwell, you're at an erosion rate of around 4 meters a year. on average. Whereas here, it's only the around 2, 3, and then and we all know where that is, right? Where they've shut down the lakeshore and the Burwell Grand Canyon, as it were, is in that area as well. So it's interesting to see because the impacts are kind of cumulative, right, throughout the cell.
Another question. Brent, you were on the tour. In my understanding, you're the staff member from Southold. We share Brent as our drainage superintendent. Could we ask him to be the staff member from Dutton Dunwich as well to represent 2 municipalities?
I would think that would be great. Yep.
Okay.
He's already there. He certainly knows the landscape, and he's very knowledgeable. Actually, Brent was a fantastic contributor to that tour and had a lot of interesting points, and people commented on it afterwards, Brent. So thank you for your participation.
Brent, if it's okay, I didn't talk to you before.
Represent this municipality as well, although I don't think 2 hands up.
Okay.
And if a council member wants to participate, some municipalities have chosen just to have a staff member. Some have a council member and a staff member. So totally up to you. The invitation is open to council if you'd like to participate. There's only 2 meetings a year, but they are long meetings.
I have a vested interest in this. We have lakefront property, but I would gladly do it, but I'll let council speak if somebody has a real interest in joining this. Speak up.
Thank you for the presentation. Having grown up on Prince Edward Island, when I was a child, we went everywhere on the dunes. Now you can't walk on the dunes because the grass is protected. And I have seen, even over the last 15 to 20 years, the significant difference it has made for the beaches on Prince Edward Island to protect them. So, yeah.
Okay. I think we're all set, Sarah. Thank you for coming. Very interesting. And look forward to results.
I look forward to coming back to present the Coastal Resilience Action Plan to this council. Okay. And look forward to seeing perhaps yourself on the 22nd and Brent as well.
Okay. I haven't seen details on the 22nd.
I'll have it sent out.
Thank you. Okay. We have another delegation. And I understand they are joining us virtually. And it's the Can-Tam group. Are they with us, Tara?
Yeah.
Tazo? Okay.
Good afternoon, members. This is Yaso Somalinga. I am the authorized agent on this application.
Okay, we can see you now.
Sorry about that. Anyway, so let me give some brief history on this development. This lot was severed long time ago by the previous owner of the property who owned both parcels, and the severance was approved, and then on that condition that access to be established from the property on the south. But however, that property access was not done to date, and we recently put an application for that, and we're still having some kind of a difficulty in getting that signed by the owner in the south part of the property, because they are the one who is going to do the severance or easement allowed on this property, on his property, for access for this property on the north. While that's being done, I hope the municipality can give some kind of pressure to the owner on the south that that property in the north, it's landlocked, and then this need to have an access. Because there's no access permitted on current roads through MDO restrictions. However, we put an application for a bigger development by my client to have a hotel facility and some other commercial and further restaurant facilities there. But later we had a pre-consultation meeting and then we found out that there's not enough capacity on the sanitary facility, so that we are dishing down the development. So right now our development mainly with one washroom for a gas station, maybe two washroom for the gas station and the takeout restaurant there, drive-through restaurant. And to have a trucking card lock system facility for trucks to come and pump the gas or diesel at their convenience at any time, and buy some coffee or something in that exit. So now to proceed with this one, because the sanitary requirement on this application is very minimum, and we can have our own inside facility to take care of the storm system. And so therefore we would like to get the municipality to approve this application process to get this moving. While we are working on the severance or the easement application for the land on the south side to have access to grant access for this property.
Okay.
There are some drawings. If you want, I can give further explanation, but it's self-explanatory that the development is staying down such a way that it's to the capacity what's available. Hopefully, it's available on one or two washroom for the entire development.
Okay, thank you for that. You have included some flow rates in your designs here. And what I would like to do or propose is we share it with our engineer and get their thoughts on it.
Okay.
As you know, we're working hard on our wastewater situation down here, and we're hoping for funding in the next round that the government has available. But until that time, we do not have the capacity. I'm sure you're well aware of that.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the reason we bring down the development now, at least to get something moving on that property. And as soon as this extra sanitary facilities available, our client is committed to bring bigger development with the hotel facility there, which is well required on this exit. So there are interested parties to come for a hotel chain there. So we'll wait for the sanitary available. But until the time, you would like to have a gas bar with a drive-through restaurant and trucking facility for them to pump their gas at their convenience. And there's lots of requirement by the trucking people to have this stop here.
Okay, Tracy, would you care to comment?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to members of council. So I just confirmed that we have done pre-consultation with the applicant. As Yasso mentioned, this property is landlocked from a previous severance that didn't include access on the Pioneer Line. So they are in negotiations with the property to the south to obtain that sort of easement or a right-of-way. We did, during pre-consultation, see a much more robust development. It had a lot more uses. And we explained to the applicants at the time that there is hesitation in letting it go through its site plan control process until such time that wastewater treatment plant has addressed its capacity. So what they had suggested, because pre-consultation was actually 2 years ago, they suggested, well, if we scale our project down to just a couple of bathrooms, would council allow this to move through the process? Because they're only at pre-consultation. They haven't done any support studies. They haven't gone through the severance application to get the easement. So before they spend any money on studies and plans and traffic impact studies and archaeology, they just want some sort of assurance from council in principle that they may be able to proceed with this scale down version. And not have a negative impact on your wastewater treatment capacity that's currently at its limit now. So what they're just looking right now is just sort of some principles. So one direction could be is that, yes, send this back to administration. Let's have Dillon Consulting look at the numbers. We can come back with a report to you and give you a recommendation. And then this kind of just goes back to council wanted to deal with these type of situations on a case by case basis. So this just is a case for you to consider whether you want to add this in, or you may still make the direction to just wait until capacity available. And then most likely the applicant will go back to its original fuller development where it is a full build out with more uses on the property.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Love.
I guess question I have is, since we're looking at a scaled down proposal, could that be handled on septic systems until such time as we have resolved our sewer capacity?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we are encouraging alternative options as a temporary measure. There's also a private pollution control plant called the Miranda system that's also being discussed by some developers that is modular and temporary. So when capacity does become available, it's something that they can just pick up and move to another site. Septic system, everything under 10,000 liters of effluent doesn't require ministry approval. So just as long as they keep within that, that makes it a little easier. But we would enter into a site plan control agreement that they would agree to disconnect from septic system and agree to connect to the municipal sewers once capacity is available. So that is a risk and an extra cost for the developer, but it's certainly an option to them.
Kind of a follow-up question. I know this property well. I work for the municipality when the present owner purchased it. And I understand completely the problem we have with the MTO and the access. I guess my concern is we've got a couple of other developers looking at very similar projects. I wonder if there's any advantages of them all sitting down in the same room and coming up with a proposal that really covers all of the properties. I really feel that 2, 3 of these developers are all spending money designing very similar projects, and I don't think we have room for 3 or 4 of those same type of developments there. I'm just concerned that all of these people are maybe wasting some of this money until we have a long-term plan to develop the property. I just wondered if the developer has any comments on that.
I can ask my client. The client is not present at this time. The issue it's a competitive market. I know there are 3, 4 different people want to develop. My client would like to have some of those drive-through facilities in his property. Because of this, we started this process about 2.5 years ago, and we still couldn't do anything further on this, while his potential clients have started their own restaurant facilities in the same neighborhood. So if we keep on not doing anything there, so he's going to lose the whole shirt on this property. So yes, it's a competitive market, and then the way it's going now, and I can still talk to my client. We're trying to, my client is trying to make some deal with the neighboring property owner who's down the south to work with them together so that they both don't go after the same chain for their development. But apparently there could be 2 gas stations and two different restaurant chains. Anything could happen, or maybe one person pick the hotel, the other person pick the chain. I don't know. But whatever the case, right now he want to shrink down the development, and that's within the criteria to meet the requirement for the sanitary facility. If that is not feasible, then our client is prepared to go for a septic system and get this one moving, because the demand will be definitely less than 10,000, which don't need a MDO approval or region approval. So, but we wanted to know what direction to go on this site plan application so that we can proceed further.
Mr. Dryfoot, you had a comment or?
Yeah, just any projection on timeline for the studies and for everything to be achieved before you could even start any site work at all? Like what time frame are you looking for?
So we have already consulted with the consultants who are going to do the study reports, and then their time limit is to 6 to 8 weeks time to complete all the site reports and present the whole thing to us. Our client is looking for the project in the spring next year. So if everything feasible, then there's a possibility that we can open the facility for the next spring.
Okay, we're getting to 10 minutes. Kim?
Yeah,
quickly.
just one more quick comment, and I think we're on the verge here of some fairly major developments in Elgin County, and I think there could be some spin-off industrial that could come out this way. Right now, we have no land to put it on except for what's already zoned here. That's always being considered as this type of development. So I guess that's my concern, is that we got all the eggs in one basket here, and we're maybe going to lose some good development because of that. So I really think we need a long-term plan with all the properties involved to come up with what we really need for sewer capacity and where we want to go.
Okay, I think staff's got some work yet to do. So thank you for appearing before council. We're gonna put this off to staff and come back to council. We're gonna have the engineers look at your numbers as far as capacity. Can't give you an answer tonight, but we have heard you, and we'll take it as quickly as we can.
Please. Thank you very much for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know that one's been on for 2 years now, but this is the first time council's seen what they're proposing now.
Yeah, and I just pulled Staff Brenton just to ask a few questions about the drain, if it was going to include the Drainage Act requirements and if that was going to take some extra time for them. So 6 to 8 weeks to get the support study, but then there's still a lot of work at our end to do for peer reviewing the reports prior to site plan control and addressing any Drainage Act issues.
There's a lot of issues with this. They haven't got access yet. And one thing I thought about, with that kind of truck traffic, Pioneer can't handle it. And we don't own enough land to make it wider. So I think there's got to be some discussion on what do we do with Pioneer. There would obviously have to be a turning lane there. Somebody's got to buy some land. There's a lot on this one that is, I think, the sewer capacity is far down the line than, in my opinion.
I think for them to get approvals to even get that done would take a long time. Yeah, so.
I did have a brief conversation with the county on this one too, and they're kind of entrenched right now on our capacity issues. Anyway, I think the right thing is let's have Dylan look at it and get input from everyone that you need. And yes, we need to, is this the development we want?
And we really can't say, no, don't bring this development forward. That's his right as a property owner. But I mean, feasibly, it's not, doesn't make sense to have two or three of the same type of units there. And I agree 100% traffic is going to be a big thing. We've already got that study that raised big concerns. And if we got a lot of truck traffic coming and going, it's not going to only be Curry Road and Pioneer, it's going to be 401 entrances as well. I think they could be looking at some really serious expenses, plus our sewers or something.
And the county's Curry Road project is like 2033 or something, so they may have to take a look at that as well. Well, I think we're a long ways from even talking about wastewater on this one.
And even septic system, they're already over the 10,000. And I think their calculation, I agree with Deputy Mayor Lovett, their calculations aren't right.
Yeah,
They need to be higher. I don't think they're complying with building code with what they've proposed because they're cutting back the number of washrooms required.
Yeah.
Because they're not showing that OBC matrix and there's a reason.
Yeah.
Because they don't have enough.
so let's throw it back to staff and get it to Dylan, get it to Jackie, you know, the points that Councillor Members just made, and bring it forward in the future. And meanwhile, we'll give some thought maybe on the agenda and do a little planning session as well on what's happening out there, Clark. Okay. Don't want to dwell on that too long right now. We have planning. Let's go to that, and it's a committee of adjustment. So Clerk Tara, let's get into that.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drouillard, that the regular meeting end to sit as a committee of adjustment hearing to hear application file MV 06/24 filed by Robert Smith at 5:36 PM. All in favor? And that's carried. And oops. Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for Minor Variance Application File MV 06/24 filed by Robert Smith opens at 5:36 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. I will call this Committee of Adjustment hearing to order. And first on our agenda here is adopt the previous minutes from the October 23rd, 2024 Committee of Adjustment. Everybody okay with those? They will be adopted as presented to council. This application for a minor variance pursuant to section 45(1) of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, is required for the following reasons. To request relief from section 4.2 to permit an existing accessory structure to be built closer to the front lot line than the minimum distance required for the main building on the lot. And number 2, located in the front yard. And number 3, built 1.35 meters from the main building where 2 meters is required. The subject lands are located at 33164 Carlton Street. Does any member of council have a disclosure of interest concerning the proposals? See none? Clerk Tara, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
A sign was posted on the subject property prior to the November 1st, 2024 deadline, and notices were mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property prior to the October 30th deadline.
Thank you. I will now introduce our planner, Tracy, for her report.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, and through the Committee of Adjustment. So this minor variance application was submitted by the property owner and the applicant. The property currently has an existing residential dwelling and an accessory structure. The applicant had constructed the said accessory structure or shed in the front yard several years ago, but a recent building permit for another accessory structure triggered a review of the entire site, and the CBO had determined that minor variance was required to correct this before she could move forward with the other building permit. So the minor variance does include 3 items. The property, the notices were circulated. There is no comments other than the building department did mention that the notice did not include 4 to subsection H, which was the 2 meter closer to the existing main building. So we've corrected that in the notice of decision if the committee so chooses to approve. So the 4 tests of a minor variance is what needs to be taken into consideration, and the tests are in compliance in planning principles. Essentially, Carlton Street is currently unopened, but if it was to be opened, administration feels that it would not, this shed would not cause any problems with sightline issues or site visibility triangle. But currently Carlton Street is closed, and that makes it look like a natural side yard, but it's really a front yard. So administration is recommending that this be approved, and happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Are the owners present? Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add at this time? No? Okay. Do the committee members have any questions on the report? No. Does the secretary treasurer have any comments from staff?
Yes, and they're summarized in the planner's report.
Does the secretary treasurer have any written submissions on this application?
Yes, and they were summarized in the planner's report.
Are there any persons present who are notified of this meeting and would like to comment on the application? Nobody else here or virtually? Okay. We will consider resolution.
Sure. Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Minor Variance MV 06/24 33164 Carlton Street, Robert Smith, dated November 13th, 2024 for information, and that the Committee of Adjustment for the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves minor variance application MV 06/24 for property located at 33164 Carlton Street in accordance with the site-specific decision sheet attached to the minutes of this meeting. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Please be advised that the last day for appealing this decision is December 3rd, 2024. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the committee in respect of this application, you must submit a written request to the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich Committee of Adjustment. If you are not the applicant, you should request a copy of the decision since it may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal by the applicant or another member of the public. This Committee of Adjustment meeting is now concluded. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to hear minor variance application file MV 06/24 filed by Robert Smith closes at 5:43 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the regular meeting reconvenes at 5:43 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
You're welcome to spend the evening with us.
We gotta say, we're gonna get out. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it.
Okay. Nobody ever takes me up on that. Can't figure it out. Okay, we'll move on to our drainage department. And Brent is here. We're going to receive the report of the engineer on the David Carroll drain.
My report's before you. Is there any questions with regards to it?
No, I didn't. None for me. Okay. Nothing further on it, Brent? Okay,
Further, other than the landowner that requested this is let's get it done as soon as possible. He's planted winter wheat, it looks like, on his farm, so he's hoping that we can get this through and constructed next year. So
Thank you. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the drainage superintendent titled Receive the Report of the Engineer, David Carroll Drain Number 3, dated November 13th for information, and that council receives and decides to proceed with the report of the engineer for the David Carroll Drain Number 3, dated October 11th, 2024, and that the meeting to consider the report will be held at approximately 5 p.m. on November 27th, 2024. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. You have anything further, Brent?
Just a second, Donald.
Item B, receive the report of the engineer on the David Carroll. I thought we just did that.
David Carroll Number 3. David Carroll.
Sorry, we have two David Carroll drains.
same initiator on both of these drains, but
Okay, nothing further from council. Okay, Clerk Tara, please. My mistake, I didn't catch the number 3.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the drainage superintendent titled Receive the Report of the Engineer David Carroll Drain, dated November 13th for information, and that council receives and decides to proceed with the report of the engineer for the David Carroll Drain, dated October 28th, 2024, and that the meeting to consider the report will be held at approximately 5 p.m. on November 27th, 2024. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. Are we done with drainage?
Do you want me to stick around monthly reports? We get it monthly report.
Well, we could jump. Clerk Tara, can I do that?
It's in consent, but it's up to you guys.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead. Everybody had a copy of your monthly drainage report. Are there any questions from council? I have one, Brent. I don't think it's in your report. And I get inquiries from Mr. Durham on his open ditch. Can you share progress on that?
I'd hope to be here before council started today to talk to you about that. No, I haven't got it out for tender yet, but typically I'm putting these tenders out in November or December to contractors, and they do that work in January through March 15th. So
Okay,
I'm confident we will get it completed this winter.
and I could share that with Mr. Durham then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I do have one thing to add through you and the rest of council, the Gilroy Drain. Basically, the main branch is constructed across Thompson Line now. They have to build the one branch in the middle of the concession between south of Thompson, up and across Thompson, and then we'll be going towards the railroads. So I would imagine, weather permitting, it should be completed within a couple weeks.
Anything further from council? Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, let's deal with correspondence. Item A is Kevin Vanderveen. He has correspondence concerning our sewer upgrades. Any comments on them? I have one. He did send a letter of support in our application for the funding. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
Anything further from Kevin?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drewler, that correspondence item 10A from Kevin Vanderveen be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Item B, the town of Aurora, a resolution fair share funding. Any comments from council on that one? See nothing. Tara, please.
Moved by Drewlard, seconded by Dreyfus, whereas municipalities face growing infrastructure needs, including roads, bridges, public transport, water systems, and other critical services, which are essential to community well-being and economic development. And whereas the current sources of municipal revenue, including property taxes and user fees, are insufficient to meet these increasing demands for infrastructure investment. And whereas the province of Ontario currently collects the land transfer tax on property transactions in municipalities across the province, generating significant revenue that is not directly shared with municipalities. And whereas the federal government collects the goods and services tax on property transactions, a portion of which could be directed to municipalities to address local infrastructure needs. And whereas redistributing a portion of the provincial land transfer tax and GST to municipalities would provide a predictable and sustainable source of funding for local infrastructure projects without creating a new tax burden on residents or home buyers. And whereas a redistribution of a portion of the existing land transfer tax and GST would allow municipalities to better plan and invest in long-term infrastructure initiatives supporting local economic growth and improving the quality of life for residents. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich formally requests, one, that the provincial government to consider redistributing a portion of the land transfer tax collection on property transactions to municipalities. Two, the federal government to allocate a percentage of the GST collected on property sales to municipalities. And three, that the redistribution of the land transfer tax and GST be structured to provide predictable and sustainable funding to municipalities, allowing for better long-term planning and investment in infrastructure projects that benefit local communities, thus ensuring that local governments receive a fair share of the revenue to address critical infrastructure needs. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Premier Doug Ford, Karen Vecchio MP, Rob Flack MPP, and the town of Aurora. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. And item C is Roma. There's a deadline of November 27th. So you have any thoughts on the delegations when we're at Roma? You share it now or give it some thought and make sure that staff are advised prior to, don't wait to the last minute, I guess.
Henry, did you want to speak on it? Henry and I have been working with the food bank and we just wanted to research if there was any funding for food banks, and if there's a ministry responsible, we would like to meet with them. So we're going to investigate that and we'll get back to Tara.
Okay. I don't know who they'd meet with on that one.
There are a number of both federal and provincial opportunities for funding. They open at odd times of the year. So I spent a little bit of time, but I will do some research and find out who we would speak to. If I can figure that out, I think. So, yep, that'll give us before the next meeting. We can get that done, can't we, Henry? Yep. Okay.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from the Township of Pushlynch calling on the provincial government to prioritize the protection of agricultural lands in the management of excess soil from roads and underground projects, and in the planning and feasibility studies related to such projects, ensure that adequate resources are allocated to the MECP to support effective enforcement and oversight to excess soil regulations, collaborate with municipalities to provide necessary support and funding for enforcement activities related to excess soil management, minimizing financial burdens on local taxpayers, conduct a comprehensive impact assessment that considers all aspects of sustainable development in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Report before proceeding with the traffic tunnel project and any further amendments to excess soil legislation. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Karen Vecchio, MP, and the Township of Push Lynch. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And our addition is the Wallstone Optimist Club, a request for support. Reach out to the county, close some roads. Anyone wish to comment on that? It's pretty straightforward. We've done it before.
Since Councillor Drew Lard has declared a conflict, I'll second the motion.
We have a resolution prepared.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the road closure on December 14th, 2024 for the annual Santa Claus Parade as follows. Curry Road from 206 Curry Road to Shackleton Street, Miller Road from Pioneer Line to Curry Road, and Pioneer Line from Curry Road to Miller Road, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Elgin County and the Wallacestown Optimist Club. All in favor? And that's carried.
Have another resolution.
Moved by Drewlard, seconded by Dreyfus, that relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried.
We'll go to the committee reports.
I'll just make mention on the Elgin area primary water supply system. That's, they have gone out and hired some engineers to do an overall study of the expansion that's going to be required. It's kind of, no one really knows how much water that company's going to use or what's coming down the pike, but it's very substantial when you get looking at a use of about, that's equal to 30,000 households. It's pretty scary. So we're good right now, but in not too distant future, got to start planning, and it's probably a 10-year project to get an expansion of that plant done. So they have to start planning. Just kind of want everybody to be aware of that's going to be some major changes there.
Okay, thank you for that. So would that potentially limit our access to the Elgin primary system? Just your thoughts.
No, we have an agreement in place.
Yeah.
And so we are still entitled to the capacity that we bought. I'm not that concerned about it. We're not taking it nearly, I don't think, what we want. We're taking the 400 minimum that we have to take, and unless there's an emergency, not a lot more. Water's a little more expensive coming from that way, so it's better to take as much as we can from the Elgin, the West Elgin plant. But it's been a big chunk of a lot more water to go that way, and I'm not sure what Central Elgin's doing, if they're looking for some or not. But we have got some pretty big expansions at the old psych hospital as well. So,
Okay. And we have our staff monthly reports.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. And it's probably my own ignorance. I see the Tri-County Water Board on here all the time, and I don't even know exactly how it functions. So is there a chance we could have something or some report or whatever at some point in point in time, or maybe comments now. I don't.
Yeah, I guess, sorry about that. I've never really done a report for them. Mayorless, Councilor Drillard and the mayor and I sit on, I'm the chair of the Tri-County Water Board for the moment. That probably won't be for much longer, but just because I don't think it can be. I can get a report done maybe for not next council meeting, maybe the one after. I'm a little busy, but yeah, we should be getting reports from at least for Magda on the financials and things like that. And I guess I just assumed that they were being sent over and but apparently not. So I'll get something together and share them with you, Henry.
Yeah, and I'm just asking because I have never seen anything at all, so I'm just curious. So, yeah. And one other comment in relation to the West Elgin Community Board of Management. If Deputy Mayor Loveland could just clarify, or maybe I'm not understanding it, but so the ask is because we're working on the budget right now through with CAO Tracy and Johnson, and we're so the ask rate, the way I understand it right now is 25,000 to be incorporated into our budget for next year. I'm not understanding the it appears to be that so this 40,000 in addition to the 35,000 we have from last year would leave us with 33,000 to raise. So is that going to come up in 2025, or is that going to be a collective effort between all of the both municipalities?
That's kind of up, and I've got a separate report. If you want to jump down and do that now, I don't have a problem. You can leave it till later, but
It's up to you. I don't, yeah, whatever. So
why don't we do it later?
do it later?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Getting back to Councillor Dreyfus' question, could we not share the minutes of the Tri-County meetings with council? You know, it's all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Hens. Yeah, I'll talk to Terry, who does the minutes and signs them, and just ask him if she can forward them to me, and I'll include them in a.
Just forward.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, my apologies for that.
No point in getting a middleman involved. She could just add you when she sends them to us, correct?
Clerk Tara, is that okay?
She's not,
Yes.
she's giving me a nod, so
Okay.
it just takes the middleman out of it.
Yeah, I guess I have questions, comments, the wastewater operator monthly report, and I don't want to beat this to death, but I'm really having a hard time. We have 2 dry months. We're operating at 70% capacity, yet our engineers are still telling us there's no inflow or infiltration problem. I really need somebody to explain this to me like I'm an idiot somehow, because I don't get it. If in a dry month, we're running at 70%, we still have capacity at that plant, and our issues aren't as bad as we're saying they are. So I really struggle and would really like somebody to provide clarification in layman's terms as to how they're saying we don't have an infiltration or inflow problem.
Okay. I think we could speak with Dylan and they'll answer that question.
Okay, yeah.
Is that fair?
I think that's fair, like I said, but I think we can all agree if in a dry month, we're running at 70%, technically, we don't even have to start looking at a increase until 80%. So we have capacity there, and it'd be nice to say, hey, look, all of a sudden, we had a delegation earlier today asking for sewer capacity. Well, if we have it and it's an inflow and infiltration problem, let's figure out how to solve the problem instead of kicking it down the road saying we just need to increase the plant capacity. So that's just my thought.
Okay. Anything further on the staff reports? Nothing from council? Any other ones? Okay, Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried. I have two that didn't put up hands.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We've been going about an hour. Anybody need a break? No? Okay. Item 12 is our clerk's report. Everyone has it, but Clerk Tara, do you wish to speak to that?
So this is part of that policy review. I know Charlotte was working on the waiver or reduction of rental fees for a while now. So it's finally coming to council with the grants program policy. This just kind of puts some more clarification for staff on how we're going to accept applications and what we're going to need in paperwork or backup. And it also helps make it more transparent for everybody on who we're giving out money to. And it also gives you guys kind of a limit, because one year we can see $173,000 being given away, and one year we can see $10,000 given away. So it just kind of makes us a little bit more fiscally responsible with what we're allocating out there to applicants. If you have any questions, let me know.
Anything from council? It's a lot of material there. And I know everyone read every word.
I think the policy is absolutely needed, and it takes it will most likely take the burden off of people coming to council if it's because we have an answer to give back right away. Well, it's a policy, and that's the way it is. So I think if we I think the bigger thing for us is we've got to stand behind the policy in order for this to work. And if we don't stand behind the policy, well, the policy doesn't mean anything. So I think we need to support staff in this all the way. So.
Okay, thank you. I think your budget committee will probably deal with some of these issues as well. On is it a grant or is it something that we do every year? I think that'll be a recommendation from your committee as well. Anything further, Councillor Drulard?
Sorry, can I just ask who's on the budget committee? Because okay, same as last year. Okay, I don't remember.
I was told it was for the duration.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that.
It was a life of council sentence.
Okay.
And you've already started, I understand.
Yes.
Okay, good. Anything further on that? Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the clerk titled 2024 to 2026 Policy Review, Part 3, dated November 13th, 2024 for information, and that council approve the following policies. F03001, waiver or reduction of rental fees for municipally owned facilities. F03002, municipal grants program policy. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Item 13, unfinished business, the Daffodil Auxiliary Relocation Report. And I expect Councillor Dreyfus or Councillor Drulard to speak to this.
Yeah, I'll start the conversation here. Had a couple of meetings with the Daffodil Auxiliary to get a better feel for their requirements and their needs going forward, and speaking with also with community members, fellow councillors individually to get a sense for past needs of the auxiliary, basically for long term. And there is a consensus that it should be our best, make our best effort to find a long-term solution, something that won't come back to the table. So that's what we've initiated, Councillor Drew Lard and myself with the committee from the Daffodil organization. So the ultimate conclusion is that the facility that they're in is really outdated. It needs a lot of work. It's too small, barely meets food safety requirements. And there's a real need to move forward in finding a better location. The buildings around the community, there's very limited. We all know that there's no places for them large enough and to meet the required. So our ultimate goal is to secure a new space, providing a long-term solution for the community, something that we can say will last them 30 or 40 years, if the need arises. The need continually seems to be growing. That's another issue that they've experienced, serving over 100 clients a month, which is, from what they used to do was probably 45 to 50. Now they're well over 100. And they also serve the West Elgin community as well. So I think we can get some support there. So we're looking for about 1,500 square feet to make it satisfactory, up to 2,000 square feet, depending on what we can do. And I think the ultimate goal was to try to find some land, or if there was municipal land, we were hoping we could build a structure. And I am aware that we have limited land available. So we've discussed that as well. But I think what we're looking for is sort of a blessing from council to do some more investigating, to see or to do some exploration with the property that we have, the properties, to see if it's feasible. I have talked to the CBO already to see what could work as far as building a building and seeing how we could work that out. Of course, then the next step would be to source a committee to start fundraising for the Daffodils organization, or to put some plans together. So that's kind of where we're at. And Councillor Drudar, if you wanted to add to what I've said, but I think at the end of the day, we're looking for just a little bit of support here from staff. Let's do some investigating. Let's see if we can figure this out. And if it's not feasible or we can't do it, then we're going to have to start looking for other alternatives. So.
Moving further.
Yeah, just to add to that, Councillor Dreyfus mentioned that there are 100 people served, but that may be individuals, but it's often families. So it's actually probably quite substantially higher number than that. And I just believe that it is our responsibility to try to support in principle how to move this forward so that they have the capacity to serve the people who live in our community.
Okay, I agree. And this will give you an opportunity to look at municipal properties, and I've heard one option, but I think we're restricted on what we can build there. But that'll all come to light in your committee work.
Yeah, I did do a little back checking on that, and we may be quite limited on what we could build on that particular site. But I'm sure that Jackie will do the appropriate investigations and let us know if that's something that we could use.
Okay, and my understanding is you've bought some time with the current landlord as well.
Yeah, not completely settled yet. It looks like he's willing to work with them until the end of the year of 2025. But right now it's May of 2025 that they have a firm agreement. So they're going to start working in January on a lease agreement that'll carry them through to the end of the year and hopefully beyond, if they need the time to move, to get a building sorted out. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. I'm very confident. I've spoke with the owner of the property as well, so I'm pretty confident it's going to work out. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great work on that. Anything further on that?
No, we, just to add, Councilor Dreyfus and I had some conversation and we do kind of have a rough plan after, after the, support and principle from council. We do kind of have a rough plan on how we're going to go. And I mean, that fundraising piece is a bit the cart ahead of the horse, but it doesn't hurt to have put those feelers out there in advance. So that we can hit the ground running when some decisions are made.
Clerk, a resolution, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drewler, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Daffodil Auxiliary Committee titled Daffodil Auxiliary Relocation Report dated November 13, 2024 for information, and that the municipality of Dutton Dunwich works with and provides a suitable building site for the Daffodil Auxiliary. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, and item B is the Horvat Community Center Annual Report. And this one, Deputy Mayor Loveland.
Thank you, and try to answer Henry's questions here as we go through. So we, at the last meeting of the Arena Board, we finalized the capital and operating budget for next year. Also looked at a 10-year plan on capital, which is something new. So that being said, and of course, we're all aware that they've applied for the grant for from the province for the arena proposal. They actually got some more detailed prices from Spreets on what they want to do. And surprisingly enough, we had preliminary budget considerably more than the cost came up with, which is a nice change. I don't know what happened. So, so anyways, if we can, it's in the report, but they're looking at a total project cost of $1,325,000. And if we get the grant and the money that Kraft Hockeyville and the money the municipalities have promised, and the little bit extra we already have, that will look after all those capital costs. They are planning on doing it this year and next year. Of course, we won't know for a while about the grant. If the grant doesn't, if we aren't successful in getting the grant, they probably want to go ahead and they want to go ahead and get the dehumidifier fixed. It's been giving us some troubles there, but we have enough money set aside for that. So, and then we'll have to work on a new plan on how to finance the rest of it. So right now, until the grant's looked at, we, if that goes through, it looks very promising. They've got about 30% contingency built in those costs. So it's, I was concerned that they didn't have enough in there, but hopefully it's going to be fine. We also looked at, and when you look at the 10-year capital expected costs, the arena project is the big one. After that, we have a few years without a lot of capital, and I think the plan is to try to keep that $50,000 we have in the annual budget in there and build up a little bit of reserve for down the road so we don't have too many peaks and valleys, which is good. So this year, we did review our rates as well, and they didn't go up too much. We had a really big increase last year. They went up about inflation 1.6 to 2% this year. So based on that, the annual budget that they are requesting from us for both capital and operating is $77,946. That's down from the $90,000 that we budgeted last year. And the year before that, we budgeted $99,000. We also have about $15,000 projected surplus from last year's operation. So what I'm recommending is that, we approve the budget for operating capital purposes at $77,946, and that we also put in the budget this year $40,000 to, as a portion of that 108,000 we've promised. That would be the 15,000 surplus from last year, plus an additional 25,000. And that would put us up just a little over 102,000, which is where we're at for the last couple of years. So we're not looking at a very big increase. The reason you're seeing the drop in the annual deficit is that the big increase that we put in last year for user fees and arena rent, it was a 10% increase. Of course, when we set our budget, the new rates don't take effect until the September. So the first 6 months of the year, they're on the old rates, and then the next 6 months they're on the new. So this year we're having the whole year at the higher rates. So I guess I don't know if I have any other questions, Henry. Does that answer everything you got? So we'd still have to raise out of 2025 budget. We'd have to raise another 33,000 to reach our 108. But I think that's a doable thing, and trying to get that done without having a big increase in our budget because of the arenas. I don't know if there's any other questions.
Councillor Pembroke.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, through you to Deputy Mayor. So I guess the only question I have, and with this CF, the grant, it's 662,000 grant. The municipality is required to pay a portion of that. Is that figured into this, or are we still going to have to put that portion on top of that?
No, we've allocated 108,000. West Elgin's already put in 150,000. So that's at 258. The Hotcraft Hockey Bill has 250,000, and we have some surplus. So if that comes in like that and we get the grant, we should be able to do it without coming back for any more money or doing any fundraising, because we had planned that we may have to do fundraising. But if we don't, that's fine too. There's other things that could use that money. So
Thank you.
Does that answer your questions, Councillor Greco?
Yeah, I guess I'm not opposed to this, so don't take it the wrong way. I guess my question is like, according to the agreement, and I don't know what the agreement is, but it used to be based on the number of users. So I don't know if that's changed since I've been involved in minor hockey. So I guess that would be my question is it based on the number of users per municipality, or are we sharing the cost of the arena between the two municipalities? And whatever it is, I just would like to get a better understanding of where we are with this. So
yeah, the costs are still split according to the number of users that each of the two municipalities that are party to the agreement have. Our West Elgin pays the first 20% of any capital or operating expense, and then the remaining 80% is split according to the number of users. And we've been actually seeing a slight increase every year from users from our municipality. So I think we're up to 51% of the 80. But that's in the agreement, and that's the only way we can split costs. And that's where the 108 came, is we calculated what our share would have been if we work that formula backwards, and West Elgin put in 150.
So the agreement's in effect on all of these calculations, yeah. Okay.
that's fine.
So going forward with the budget, we know where we stand. Okay, anything further on that? Resolution, please.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dryfout, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich accepts the annual report for the West Elgin Community Centre Board for 2024, and that Council approved the proposed 2025 operating and capital budget, requiring a contribution from the municipality of $77,946, and further that we include a contribution of $25,000 plus our share of any 2024 surplus into the reserve for the arena improvement project. All in favor? And that's carried.
Speak anytime you want, Tracy, okay? I didn't mean to close you out. And that was a budget item, so I kind of expected a comment. Nothing, okay. Any new business, Tara?
None from me.
Okay. Any announcements? See none? Okay, we're gonna go through a few bylaws and then we'll head to closed. So the first one is appointed deputy treasurer. Go ahead, Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that bylaw 2024-48 being a bylaw to appoint a deputy treasurer be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And has everyone made a trip in to meet our new deputy treasurer?
I've been in a couple of times, but I missed it.
Okay, well, please do.
Well, I met.
Yeah. Okay, please do. Welcome to Dutton Dunwich. And item B is our winter maintenance agreement with Highland Estate Subdivision. Go ahead, Tara, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that bylaw 2024-49 being a bylaw to authorize a hold harmless and indemnity agreement for winter maintenance in the Highland Estates subdivision between the corporation of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich and Amgen Realty, Inc. be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, and we have one with Lila North subdivision as well.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that bylaw 2024-49 being a bylaw to authorize a hold harmless and indemnity agreement for winter maintenance in the Lila North subdivision between the corporation of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich and 268-9442 Ontario, Inc. be read first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. Tara, get us into closed and then we'll take a couple minute break or 5, whatever you want.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the council for the municipality of Dutton Dunwich now moves into a session of the meeting that shall be closed to the public at 6:26 p.m. in accordance with section 2392 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001, Chapter 25, for discussion of the following matters. A, labor relations or employee negotiations, section 2392D of the Municipal Act for the medical lab. B, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to negotiations, section 2392K of the Municipal Act for the medical center. C, labor relations or employee negotiations, section 2392D of the Municipal Act for the water department staff. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. 5 minutes.
Would you like me to go ahead with the confirm proceedings?
Yes, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that bylaw 2024-51 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipal council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Our future meetings are listed here. One more resolution to go. Tara, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 7:04 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, everyone. It went quicker than I thought. We're only a little over 2 hours. It's good.
I canceled the senior management meeting tomorrow just so, okay, cool.